We have updates in the Rittenhouse trial. Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all charges. And we had charges that were already thrown out previously. We talked about those in my previous video. What's up, Kai? How you doing, bro? I wanted to get on here and cover the verdict so that it didn't interfere with the live stream that we're doing tonight, and that so it didn't interfere with the actual question and answer session that we have later today. But it looks as though he was acquitted, found not guilty on all charges that were remaining. Remember, he was being charged with, it was a total of 7 charges, even though some of those were already thrown out previously. And I know I'm not going to get a lot of people on here, but I wanted to get it up so that you could watch this and it didn't interfere with tonight's live streams. So I only got a few minutes. But the count 1 on first-degree reckless homicide was not guilty. Count 2 was the first-degree reckless endangering, not guilty. The count 3 was first-degree reckless endangering for the other person. There was the second shooting, basically. That was not guilty. Count 4 was the first-degree intentional homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. That was not guilty. There was count 5, attempted first-degree intentional homicide. That was not guilty. And then count 7 was the failure to comply with emergency order from state or local government. This was already dismissed during the trial. So not guilty on all charges. I do know that they obviously people want this to be appealed. Like, that's what I'm seeing in the news right now. The White House right now is not commenting on the verdict. They're declining comment. I think they're going to wait to see what happens in Kenosha and with the inner cities. I really do think that's going to be important. They're going to probably throw that in with whatever their plan is going to be, because I think they're concerned that people are going to riot. I think people will. I'll be surprised if they don't. I'll be pleasantly surprised if they don't, because the mob nowadays has been pretty crazy. If they were able to do what they did in Kenosha and just throw the city to the wolves all over Jacob Blake, a horrible criminal who did horrifying things to poor women and was an incredible danger on scene to the police officers that were trying to bring peace. And then they rioted over that. So if they were willing to do that, then they're willing to riot over this Rittenhouse verdict. I do think that this is not a surprise for anybody that he was acquitted on these charges. I don't know anybody who was surprised with this. Anybody who understands case law, who understands how the court system works and law enforcement, I just don't see how anyone is surprised. Prosecutors, nobody was surprised here. The prosecution cannot appeal. The not guilty verdict is final. So this is the end of the state's prosecution. And typically Wisconsin law generally favors the defendant claiming self-defense, which was huge and important to this actual case. So that wasn't a surprise there. It was obviously emotional in the courthouse. You could see there's like picture of Kyle breaking down and hugging his attorney. I didn't get to watch it live, but the judge was happy with the jury. He said that it was the best jury he could have asked for. And I do know that they had to remove somebody at one point from some trials. So that's been crazy with jury tampering and things like that. So, man, for a case like this to be so big, I cannot imagine being on the jury of this trial. You compare this to like other trials in the past where they didn't have as much coverage. They didn't have, you know, the internet. Think about like OJ. Like these are all big trials, right? But nowadays you can have a trial which is about a 17-year-old kid during a riot, which has so much, there's so many gray areas here with self-defense, with the fact that the police abandoned the area and all these things. Like the fact that this case got that much on a trial, in a case that no one thought he was going to get convicted. I just don't see how anyone thought he was going to get convicted of this because of self-defense. And an important thing that I have to talk about here is this was really important for self-defense freedoms in this country. I'm getting a lot of feedback from people on my last video, which I'll post here once it posts on YouTube when the live is over. I might give it a 24, 48 hours. But it really was an important case. And the reason why is I do hear a lot of people saying that he shot someone in defense of property, and that's just not the case. We don't have the proof of that. Now, we don't know his intentions of going down there. Listen, I have friends that are real pro Kyle Rittenhouse and think that this is it was okay for him to do and it was noble. I'm not exactly in that camp yet. Maybe it's from being a police officer. And I don't give people the benefit of the doubt as much as I maybe used to. It's hard for me to think of a 17-year-old kid having the wherewithal. I mean, his brain's not done growing for another 8 years. To have gone down there with completely noble intentions, sometimes it does make me wonder if he got lucky. I'm just being honest with you guys. But the bottom line is this. He handled himself well. He never shot anybody because they were robbing or burning or flipping trailers. He shot people who were attacking him with skateboards and guns and had threatened him. And he would go between the two places. Kim Manson on. Thank you, Kim. Wow, you guys are up early. Oh, I guess it's 8 o'clock over there. Hello to all my people out in Hawaii. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's early. I just wanted to get this one out there. So from the evidence, we saw this on video. This 17-year-old kid who I never in a million years would have thought that he could have handled something this well. I've watched police officers in training not be able to handle themselves as well as this person did. So, like, I'm not going to lie, I'm shocked. I'm shocked he handled himself so well. Other people might say he was that well trained and that well disciplined and he had all the good intentions of going out there and helping people. Hey, maybe. That's totally possible. Totally possible. We can't prove it either way. So if you're a cynic like me, you'll say he was looking for a little bit of action. You'll say, you know, he didn't want to shoot anybody, obviously, but maybe he wanted to look cool with his AR standing out there and he wanted to help make some good YouTube videos or whatever. I don't know. So the truth is, I can't prove that I think that he was an idiot for going out there. And I have really good friends, Mike Patello. You guys have seen him on videos. We talked about Rittenhouse about 6 months ago, and that video got demonetized. And then we had another video that was a community guideline strike, so I had to take it down. So Mike called me yesterday or texted me yesterday about his thoughts, and he really thinks that Kyle had some really great intentions. He really just wanted to go down there and help. He wanted to protect his community, which he loved and he felt that he was a part of. I have a hard time thinking of a 17-year-old could do that. However, I don't have proof that he didn't. He may be a really good dude. And he went down there. He had discipline. He was helping people. He was removing graffiti. He was out there trying to help. So the truth is, I don't have proof on my stance. I I do think, this is how I put it. If he was my son and I'm sitting on the couch at home and he walks in the door and he says, Dad, thinking about going down to Kenosha and helping. The police have abandoned the area and I'm thinking about going down there. My friend's going to get me an AR and I'm going to go and I'm going to post up outside this car lot and provide security so people don't burn it because this poor guy's got no more chances. If I'm his dad, I'm saying, you're out of your mind. You're not going anywhere. I'd handcuff him to his room. You're not going anywhere. I do believe that he knew he was walking into something that was crazy and he wanted to be a part of something. But I don't know Kyle. I just don't know him, so I don't know enough. Maybe if I met him, I'd think differently. And I'd think, you know what, he's actually a very mature person. I just don't think a 17-year-old has that kind of control. And then he goes out and did what he did. He had really good control, really good discipline. He, aside from the fact that he was down there, I don't see him doing anything wrong. He only fired upon when he was attacked. Some people use the excuse that he was only attacked because he had a gun. Well, it's not illegal to have a gun. So you can't just attack people who have guns. And that's what throws me off. I just don't know, like, where people with video can say that they saw this guy do something wrong. He didn't. Those men didn't die because they were looting. They didn't die because they were rioting. They didn't die because they were protesting BLM. That's nonsense. Those guys were bullies and criminals, and they were attacking Kyle Rittenhouse. It was lawlessness. For people who criticize Kyle Rittenhouse for being a vigilante, that's like saying, that's like being critical of him for being a vigilante against other vigilantes and then failing to mention them, you know? So, hey, man, I'm glad that he was found not guilty because that would have been nonsense. That would have made a mockery of the court system. So this guy was out there with presence. That gun was to protect himself. Brandishing a weapon like that is useful. I don't care what anybody says. Having a dude standing out there with an AR definitely helps from people deciding they're going to burn down your building. So, and that's a different use of force continuum. So you cannot say, as I've seen in some of the comments, that him having that weapon was use of force. And you have to separate him having the weapon from him shooting the weapon. Those are two different things. And in police work, having a weapon is its own level of coercion, which is why we have one. Hopefully we never have to draw it. But then drawing your weapon, presenting the weapon, is another level on the use of force continuum. And then actually firing your weapon is at the very top. So the fact that he had that weapon is not lethal force. Even drawing the weapon is not lethal force. So I just don't see the logic in saying that he was only attacked because he had the weapon. If you're worried about that weapon, you don't run towards the person with the weapon. He wasn't pointing it at people. He wasn't running around shooting it off. So you had no reason to try to like tackle him or neutralize him. He was just standing there guarding that area. And people who wanted to burn and loot, they were upset about that. That's why they shouted obscenities and threats that multiple witnesses were able to confirm in trial. I will say this though, maybe if they had a better prosecution, they would have gotten a little bit further. This was borderline asinine. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I feel so bad for prosecutors because I know other prosecutors are looking at them like, yo, what are you doing? First of all, it was an unbeatable case. But second of all, they dropped the ball. I see what he was trying to do as a valiant effort, picking up that gun and pointing it in the courtroom and trying to get all that drama. I get it. I see what he was trying to do there. But man, could have found somebody better. If people wanted him prosecuted so bad, it would have happened. I think everyone knew this wasn't going anywhere. The city did this to placate the media. This was equivalent to Judge Alm charging the officers in the shooting case with CICAP. So I just don't know where we go from here on that. I will say this. I will say this, guys. I will concede this much. Kyle Rittenhouse got what he asked for. If my son, who I said, no, don't go down there, and I kept him in the house, if he said, Dad, why would you do that? I would say, because here's what's going to happen, son. And this is what I take away from this whole thing. I would have said, here's what happens. You're going to go down to Kenosha with that AR. Some bully or somebody that's not going to like that, they're going to start throwing bottles at you or whatever. And then you're going to end up shooting someone. And then you're going to end up on the news, especially in this climate. You're going to be called a racist or a white supremacist, right? And then you're going to go to court. You're going to get on a trial in front of everybody, and you're going to risk going to jail for the rest of your life. That's what I would have told him. And that's what happened to him. I think any parent would have told their son that. They would have said, yo, you are barking up the wrong tree. You're asking for trouble. And he got it. So there's two sides of this coin. Number one, he got what he was asking for. He got that action. I promise you, he would have taken it all back. This is mad stressful for him. He thought he was going to prison, especially in this climate. The other side of the coin is now we have precedents. It's about time they start taking some of that back. America needed a little bit more. We are losing rights hand over foot. Look at Hawaii. I love Hawaii. Hawaii should be able to protect itself more. Now, I benefited from Hawaii not having concealed pistol licenses because I didn't have to think about it. You weren't allowed to have a pistol. And if I saw one, you were going to jail. My gun was coming out, and you were risking getting shot if you reached for it. Because it's illegal in Hawaii. They can say all they want. It's a may issue state. You cannot carry. They're not writing CPLs for anybody. In Michigan, and in most of the states, you can carry a pistol. And so when a police officer pulls you over, you have to tell him I have a pistol. And he usually will say, okay, just don't touch it. Leave it right where it's at. Don't reach for it. Everything will be okay. And then he runs checks, makes sure everything's legal, and lets you on your way. But that's stressful for a cop. Walking up on a car in the dark, tinted windows, on a highway, can't see, lights in your eyes. And then you have to go up to a car that you know may be carrying a pistol, and it may be legal, which means that you have less reaction time. In Hawaii, you see a gun, your gun comes out. Just like that. You see a gun, the butt of a gun, the tip of a gun, you see a trigger well, you see the hammer, you see the slide. Doesn't matter. Gun comes out. Do not touch that gun. In Michigan, they can have it. So it makes it trickier for officers. So yes, I benefited from being an officer in Hawaii where they were not allowed to carry. But I wish Hawaii had more freedoms there for the citizens' sake. You know that police officers can't always help you. There's that saying that when, how's it go? When you have seconds, police are only minutes away. And that's the truth. We can't always help you. And people do die because of that. I do see in the comments people talking about tasers. I heard you guys getting tasers are legal. I don't know how Hawaii's going to handle that. January, You guys, tasers are made legal. I wonder. However, let's be honest. There's already people tasing people. One of the most common things in Waikiki with the prostitutes is they carry tasers in their purses. Tasers, pepper spray. I cannot tell you how many times in Chinatown somebody got tased. But he definitely... There was one dude who was constantly tasing people. I remember that. He was tasing people. And that was his MO. And that's how we were trying to track through his victims. He would rob people, use tasers. So I wonder, is it gonna help people? Are the right people gonna get tasers? Right? I hope you guys do something. You can't carry a gun. You gotta be able to protect yourself. I haven't looked at the law yet. I'll have to look at it later, but I don't think you can have projectile tasers, right? I think it's drive stun tasers. Am I wrong? Does somebody in the chat know? It might be just drive stun tasers. I don't know if you have cartridges that you can shoot. Anyway, we'll talk about that on another video. Guys, I'm going to be going live tonight. We're going to talk later tonight, I think around 5:30 p.m. Hawaii time. And then around 8, maybe 6 o'clock. And then around 8 o'clock, we're going to do the question and answer for the Patrons only. So you guys can head over to patreon.com/Dougkorenic and sign up. We're doing a question and answer session. The Patrons have already put together some questions, and we're going to have a little talk story session. And who knows, maybe a bonfire tonight. So appreciate you guys. Just wanted to give you that update. Everybody be safe out there. And until the next time, aloha.